Video I'm going to talk about configuring HSRP. So HSRP is one of the first hop routing protocols out there, and you also have VRP and GLBP, but I'm gonna talk about those in the future videos. So configuring HSRP. If you want to know about HSRP, you might want to watch the video that I made about HSRP operation. But here I'm going to talk about how to configure it. And by the way, I'm actually using the same IP addressing that I used in the previous video. So you want to check the topology in that video first before so that you can visualize things more easily. So here I have two routers, two gateways, and one of them is active and one of them is standby. Unlike VRP and GLBP, you actually use standby instead of HSRP. So you might wanna remember that. So here I said active router, but you can actually say you can actually use multi-layer switches, but I'm actually gonna use switch because I wrote interVLAN 10. So on routers you don't have to use VLAN interfaces because you already have router interfaces. I'm just gonna use switch here, and keep in mind that these are, like I said, multi-layer switches. But you can also use routers, and you don't have to use VLAN interfaces like I'm using here. So here's how you would configure the active switch. So you're gonna create, first of all, on this switch you need to create the interface VLAN 10 because it's an interface that lets you route traffic. So here IP address 10.1.1.2 255.255.255.0, and here this is how you actually configure HSRP. So standby 10, I'm using the same number, but this is actually logically significant, so it doesn't matter if these two match or not. So standby 10 IP and the virtual IP address, and notice that you don't have to use subnet mask. And of course standby 10 priority 200. By default priority is set to 100, so here I'm using 200 And as you can see, the reason why this switch is active because I'm using priority 200 here, but here I'm using the default value, which is 100. So next is 10 by 10 preempt. Actually, while I'm talking about this, I'm gonna talk about the default values as well. So like I said earlier, the priority is 100, and the timers, hello timer is default hello timer is 3 seconds. Hold down default timer is 10 seconds. So here, without configuring the timers, you actually have you are actually using these default values here, because these are the default values. So preempt is disabled here. So if, for example, this switch here, the active switch, went down, if the preempt is not configured on both switches, this standby switch will not take over the active role, because preempt is not configured. So you actually need to configure it manually on. You must configure it manually on both switches. And standby 10 track. This is actually a one way that you can use to monitor if you still want the active switch to be active switch. Because if, for example, you have the active switch here, this is your active switch, and this is your standby switch. For example, this is connected to the ISP. This active switch, this interface goes down, then there's no way for the traffic to get out of the local network. So you want this multi-layer switch or router to take over the active role here. So this is one of the reason you might want to use tracking option here. And standby switch, same interface VLAN number 10, and of course you want to make sure that the interfaces belong to the same subnet, as you can see here. So .3/24, and of course you wanna the virtual IP address should be the same on both switches. And here I don't have to configure, to say priority 10, 100, because 100 is the default value, but for simplicity or for easy visualization, you might want to configure it. And of course the preempt option. And I already talked about priority, the priority timers, virtual MAC address. Here, this is actually the virtual MAC address of the HSRP version 1. But the X here represents the group number of the HSRP group. But you actually have a different virtual MAC address if you are using the HSRP version 2, which is, by the way, the common HSRP that is being used nowadays. And group number is by default is 0, and like I already said, preemption is disabled. So yeah, there you have it. This is how you configure HSRP on routers or multi-layer switches. So, and by the way, there are interfaces interface states that a standby that a HSRP interface goes through, and off the top of my head, they are init, listen, speak, standby, active. But I'm actually gonna review that for myself. So that's it for now. I'm gonna talk, like I said earlier, I'm gonna talk about VRP and GLBP in the next video. So I'll see you there. Thanks.